Hello again, good folks of Armaland. Hellcat here. Decided to do another tutorial. I've not done a tutorial for a while. This one's titled Making Things Go Boom. Of course, we all like a good bit of boom. So, what are we going to make boom? Well, most of us have done this inadvertently. As you can see there, you've got a Merlin helicopter. Many times you placed things down, usually vehicles, and you've got it too close to a fence or not level on the ground, and what happens is when you start the mission, various objects will go up in flames, usually not when you want it to, but this time you want it to. So how are we going to achieve that? Well, in the example of placing an object wrong so that it self-destructs at mission start, this is easily replicated because if you go into the attributes, and I've got the wrong one, typical Arma, not selecting it. If you go into the attributes and basically if you see where the health is, you can set that down to 0, and basically when a vehicle will spawn in or start, there we go, there's the health and armor set to 0, it will basically come in as a destroyed object. So there we go, it's got 0 health, and when you play as the character, once it starts in, this is not my gaming partition, so it's slower than normal. And there we go. Just like when you've not placed an object right, it's clipped something and the mission starts and it goes up in flames. Yep, all nice and dandy, but we want that controllable. So how are we going to achieve that? The health being at 0 can actually be achieved by using a very easy script command called set damage, and the format is whichever object you want it to, set damage 1. Now the damage goes on a sliding scale from 0 to 1. 1's less than 1. There are uses you can use it, but that's outside of the scope. For this we want it to go boom, so it's set damage 1, as in 100% damage. So in this example we've got an object, we've called it tank 1, and we set its damage to 1. So how are we going to apply that? Well, one method to apply that is to use triggers. Don't be scared by all these triggers, they're not nothing too complicated here. If you notice up there, we've got a Datsun, we've called it car 1, and that's linked to a radio alpha trigger in this case for example purposes, and I've got to find it. So radio alpha is there we go, radio alpha. Now thanks to my good colleague Chris Nesbitt, call sign Nez, who pointed out that if you actually in the text box type something meaningful when you come to your radio alpha trigger, instead of saying Radio Alpha, Radio Bravo, Radio Charlie, you can give it meaningful things, so you don't have to have a script list next to you to try and remember what all your radio triggers are. So we've called this one car boom because the car's going to go boom. Radio Alpha, and we've used the set damage command, so car 1 set damage 1. And also we've got a bunch of other objects. We've got a large IED called IED 1, an ammo box called ammo 1, a big ammo crate called crate 1, a bomb trolley called trolley 1, and some mixed crates, and we'll get to those, and a building. Now the problem is not all models have damage associated with them, and we'll demonstrate that shortly. The only way you can really find that out is place the object down, set itself to 0, play in a scenario and see what happens. If something happens, all well and good, you can use it. If not, nope, not going to happen. So I've got all those and they're all linked up to radio triggers. So let's see that in action. So let's get our character pointing the right way. We can get rid of our Merlin now. We don't need it. Get rid of that. And we'll play as the character. Wait for it to come in. And there's our character, and there's the objects. We've got the Datsun, we've got an IED, an ammo box, an ammo crate, a bomb trolley, and some assorted crates. And a bright orange thing over there, which I will come to later. Right, okay, let's have a look first at the car. So we've got this, it's got a variable name, car 1, and in the trigger for radio alpha we called it car boom, and on activation it is car 1 set damage 1. So then we activate radio, and as you can see they've got meaningful names instead of radio alpha, radio bravo. So thanks to our NES for pointing that out. That makes my life a lot easier. So we pick car boom, and it's car 1 set damage 1, and it goes up in flames. That is its 100% damage model. That's good, it's nice, but we want things to go boom. One of the most useful objects is the and just to prove me wrong, it decides to do its explosion model. Doesn't always do that. A more reliable method, I like to use the IEDs because they produce a nice large reliable boom. Well, that's IED 1, and if we do that from the radio trigger, IED boom, it go boom. That nice. The ammo crate, that's a bit of a different, that has a different damage model, as you'll see. So radio ammo, and it does a cook-off. Now that can be used, we'll explain some of that later. There's another one, there's an arsenal crate. That one, radio crate. Oh dear. That doesn't have a damage model. Not really much use. Okay, and there's a bomb trolley. And we'll have a look at that one. Trolley. Nope, nothing again. That has no damage model, so that is actually not much use. I've done a little thing here. There is an ID associated with it, and radio, trolley and ID. Nope. Even if it had thrown it in the air, it would land like the ammo crate, undamaged. Not really what we want. And again, a bunch of mixed crates. Now, I've been trying to do this to get a load of crates flying everywhere, and guess what? Arma doesn't want to play ball. Great, super. There's a building object. We've done a set damage 1 on that, and building. Nothing. Okay, disappointing. So we've got a load of objects. They have different damage models. If they've got a good damage model, they're usable for effect. This is a multi-part. After we've done this, we're going to move on and to the what I call let's get creative section. And after all these damp squibs of nothing happening, we're going to end this part with a boom, because we all like a bit of boom. So there we have a GBU, a Moab. Not everybody has this. It happens to be in one of the USAF mods. That's set the same. It's called Moab. It's set on a trigger, and that's done a set damage 1. There is a bit of an issue with this. I haven't tested it on the dedicated server, but you get a typical Arma no entry point box pop up. But once that's cleared, it does its job. Moabs, you don't want to be within 2 kilometers when one of these bad boys goes off, because the results are for you are unfortunate. So to end this first part and allow me to go and get a coffee ready for the second, here's the Moab. Radio Moab. Oh dear. And that's a good point there to go and get a cup of coffee, and I will see you in the next part. Cheers for now. Oh well, welcome back. Okay, we're now on to this section of what I will call Let's Get Creative. So I have my coffee. I hope you have your drinks or snacks, because there's a bit of code involved here, but not too much, but we'll explain that as we go along. Okay, so here's our civvy, and I've got some triggers: car boom, phone box, sac boom. They are radio triggers: Alpha, Bravo and Charlie. Right, first example. Right, we've got a Skoda Octavia. We've called that car 1. Now, everyone hates Octavias, so a good thing to blow up. What we have here is a dug-in IED. We called it IED 1, and that is set to show model off, so it's invisible. That is triggered from the car boom radio trigger, and there's a bit of coding involved, and I'll explain that in a moment. And we've got car 1. Now we already know if you do a set damage 1 on the car, it will burst into flames and do the stuff. So we've got an invisible IED, and we've got a car, so we put the car over the IED. The player won't see it anyway. Actually, looking at that, I might be a bit close, so I'm going to do it the other way. No, I'm not. Get back. Stupid civvy. Move the car out here, and we'll put the IED underneath. Oh god, I don't want to put it. Thank you, Arma. Put it over it, not in it. Okay, right. So civvy, and we have car boom. Car boom, and we have a bit of code here. Now, let me just quickly explain this. We've got our good old friend called Spawn, which allows us to run a block of code. It runs it in what's called unscheduled, in the unscheduled environment. It doesn't mean it will activate immediately because it's unscheduled, but it's usually close enough to real time so as not to bother. And basically what Spawn does, it will run a block of code. And the reason we do this is that this sleep command you cannot use in the init field of, say, a trigger or an object. You'll just get the suspension not allowed in this context. So we use the spawn command, and basically we just give it a nonsensical variable equals the open brackets are for passing parameters into the code. We're not going to do that, so they're empty brackets, and we spawn this code. So basically we're told car 2, which is the Octavia, set damage 1. That will burst it into flames. We'll then wait 10 seconds, and then IED 1, which is now invisible and placed under, we set that to set damage 1, and that's the main boom booms. Right, okay, so let's see that in operation. So we'll play as a character, wait for it all to start. There's the Octavia. Ignore the phone boom and stuff. That'll probably go up in flames anyway. But right, there we go. And we're going to set off the radio. Car boom. Car bursts into flames. Civvy runs away. Whew, got out of that, he says. Jesus. Right. He waits around thinking, I'm lucky boy. Maybe you weren't. Okay. Now, if you actually sit there long enough, you will probably get a secondary explosion from the damage model of the car. Pretty relevant at this point. But what that will do is it will simulate it bursts into flames, then there's a delay, and then it blows up. Okay, that's the first one. We get back to the editor, and the second one is this. We've got a phone booth, Altis. We don't need to give it a name or anything, irrelevant. And we've got a large IED. Now, just to point out, you don't have to use IEDs. A good source of explosive devices are in your props under weapons, explosives. Most of these will work with the set damage 1 and go boom, and they will do various effects of boom depending on what you choose. I've just chosen an IED, irrelevant for this. I've called it IED 2. That is also, show model is off, it's invisible, and it's set up about height so that it fits somewhere in. So you put that over, and then again we have a Radio Bravo, which is phone box, and all we do in this is lose what we're doing, which is pretty useless. That's because I am editing the phone box, because I'm a dippy. Typical Arma hasn't selected it. There we go. Let's try that. Right, now we're cooking. Phone box, that's the trigger. IED 2, set damage 1. No problem. So, play as the character. At the moment I'm using radio triggers, but these would normally be used off area triggers, you know, where like blue 4 present or player present or whatever. So there we have an innocuous phone box, and so unsuspecting player walks into the trigger area and goes the phone box and everything else around it. Normally the phone box flattens itself. In this instance it's decided to stay upright. Don't always do that. Right, that's that example. And the third example excuse me, is I've got a bunch of sacks like you'd find Middle Eastern market. They're just sacks, and I've got this ammo crate, which I've called Ammo 1. Now we know that these go all cook off sparkly. So that will get a bit of a burning effect before this one, IED large, IED 3, goes boom. So we stuff that underneath so you can't see it. It's in both that and the ammo crate are set to show model off, so you won't see them anyway. Right, okay, they go in there. Now the radio Charlie trigger, sack boom, we do the same. We do a spawn code, and what we've done is ammo 1, set damage 1. That will give you a smoky sparkly cook off. Waits 5 seconds, and then IED 3, set damage 1. That's the main charge. So the effect of this, when you play as the character, right, okay, ignore these over here, I'll explain that in a minute. There with sacks, and radio sack boom, that will suddenly burst into flames, smoky, crackly, and then go boom. Okay, right, that's 3 examples of getting creative. The whole idea is just to give you an ideas. We'll move on to this one. Now you'll see the triangle, that's a bit of a giveaway here. That doesn't show up when you're playing it in multiplayer or on a server. It just shows up because I'm running it through Eden. Now you can see a bunch of civilians there all walking round, and there's a suspicious guy there who has this red triangle following him, which you wouldn't normally see. Well, I suppose you can guess what's going to happen. In this particular instance, I've picked something rather special. So anyway, I put a cone there because I know where we're going to go, but I can't wait for him to come round, so I'm just going to go and join these guys. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, how's it going? Super. Nice bit of shopping. Yeah. Hiya. You want to talk? Obviously not. Oh dear. Right. Now, how did we achieve that one? This one's a little more creatively complex. So, basically, as you can see, I have got 4 civilians here. One of them, if you notice, is tagged Civ1. He has got a set route. Could have been on the patrol, but I've got the rest on a patrol within the area, so they'll just walk around. What you also have, ignoring the road cone, is this. And from the explosives, I've picked a Claymore charge, and I've called it ID4. So, what do we do with this? Well, when we get the attributes up, we'll have a look. This uses another scripting command when it decides it's going to do it. There we go. Right, I'm using the attach to command. So ID4, well, this means this ID4 attached to civilian 1. What that does is it basically, as it says on the tin, it attaches it to him. There are offset modifiers you can use. I've not done that, so it just goes central on the object, and basically that ID charge will be attached to that civilian and follow him round. Okay, so far so good. And there's a little bit of trickery pokery on the civilian. What I've done here is another spawn code, and in this one I've just set the bogus variable to _suicide and spawn a section of code. So basically what this is saying is wait until, now this sleep one is important because otherwise it will check every frame, which is not good for performance. So usually a sleep one is good enough. So it will do sleep 1 and then it player distance civ1. What that will do will return the distance between you and the civilian, and if it's less than 5, that will satisfy the true condition of the wait until, and then it will operate on the last one, which is ID4 set damage 1. So it will wait until you are less than 5 meters from the civilian, and then it will set off a charge. And it's fairly simple. It's just getting used to use the spawn command. So, as you've seen, what happens is if you get within 5 meters of this boy, you go boom. Not very friendly, but we'll see it one more time before we move on to some real world examples in the next section. And so I'm going to get myself killed, and then we'll grab another coffee and see you for the final part. Now, there we go. So I'm going to go and wait. I should have put him to run really, but I'm not going to wait. I'll just head him off at the pass, so to speak. So you've got a load of innocuous civilians, no idea, except for Matey here. And here he comes, he's walking towards you. Let's see, hiya dude. Now I survived that. I'm probably hurt. Amazingly I got away with that, I was lucky. I used a Claymore charge. normally in a bunch of civilians, that will cause carnage. If I'd used a bigger charge, I would be dead, and so would everybody else. But hey, it's your choice as to how much pain and damage you inflict. So now we've gone through the dark side of it, I'm going to pause here, grab a coffee, and then we'll go on to some real world examples. I shall see you in a moment. Okay, good folks, right, we're on to the final part now. Got another coffee, here we go. Excuse me. Just a couple of real world examples. There are many I could demonstrate, but don't want to make the video too long. Just a couple of simple ones here. Now, slightly different in this one. I have picked a large IED like I did before, but I'm not using the set damage because these dug-in IEDs are syncable to an area trigger. You don't need to do any coding, you just basically right click, connect, sync to, and then the IED, and they're ready to rock. You can use the set damage one if you're using other objects that aren't syncable. You'll find a lot of the explosive objects, they are actually syncable to triggers. You don't need to use the set damage one, but like in the car example where it goes into flames, you'd use that where you want a particular sequence of events. So in this we've got a load of sacks and a sack heap. Excuse me, must be all the pollen around. What I found is that if you actually put the IED underneath the sacks, they do actually mask the explosion. So I've got it slightly in front, and so there we are. And we've got a recon squad, and they're going to come walking down the road doing their stuff, and they're going to run through the trigger. So there's our civvy. Let's play as the character. Wait for it to start, and there we go. Recon team, bunch of sacks with an IED, and they're on the move. Sorry if there's any rattling, I've just had to reposition my headset, it was falling off. Okay, here we come. They're patrolling down the road, keeping eyes out for things, looking for bad guys. Yep, not the bad guys are not the thing they need to be worried about in this instance. It's that sacks of stuff there. Now obviously it will go off depending on where you put the trigger. You could put it right up as a thin line close to it. I've got it a bit broader, and they should be crossing soon. And off goes the IED, down goes the blokes, and of course typical AI just carry on as if nothing's happened, because they are dumb. Okay, so that's one example. That's where you can use a trigger directly synced to the explosive. We'll just cut out of that one now, and then we'll just do the second example before we finish. Just need to reposition a few things. So what we're going to do here, we've got our civvy, we've got the IED. I've picked an M112 block. Slightly different on this. What I have done, I've done the attached to, but I've actually included the offset as 0. This is to ensure that the actual explosive device centers on the player, sorry, on the object or bad guy or whatever. If you don't do that, it will pick its own offset, so the explosion would occur not on the actual object itself, it's likely to do it off to one side, which is not a good effect for a suicide bomber. But a simple addition using the full attach to parameters. It's attached to Civ 1 with an offset of 0, so it's centered on him. Okay, so let's shift our recon squad, move it over here, and they're going to come in, and you just have to bear with me, I couldn't be bothered to put it all down. I've envisioned, if I can say the word, I see this as a marketplace type thing where you'd have loads of sacks, trolleys, civilians, carts, making it look like it's a busy market scene. I've cut that down. They're just a few civvies wandering around an enclosure with one bad guy. So, okay, we've got a guy up here, and I can play him as a character, and hopefully he doesn't fall off as he did the first time I tried it, because you know what objects are like when you put them down. Okay, so we're looking down, step a bit closer. Oop, there we go. And there we are, a bunch of civvies wandering around. There's our patrol coming in to check the area. Oh, straight into our suicide bomber. That one didn't end well. We had one survivor out the civilians, and a bunch of AI recon going on as if nothing has happened. Okay, right, I hope you gained some inspiration from that. As I say, I can't go through every scenario you can dream up, because I don't know what you can dream up. But I'm pretty sure you can be an evil chap, or chapess. Use the techniques, have fun, and we'll catch you for another tutorial later. Bye bye for now.